today you are going to learn about the hormones released by the endocrine system and also about the medical terminology of the endocrine system. You will be able to know about what hormones are released by each specific gland and how the medical terms are given to glands. Here first, so what are the hormones released by the endocrine system? So what is endocrine system also called as? It is also called as hormonal system. So it is made up of special glands that releases hormones directly into the blood. So these hormones travel through the blood to different parts of the body to control important functions like growth, reproduction, metabolism, and also mood and functions. So think of hormones as chemical messengers. So they carry instructions from glands to organs to tell the body what to do. So now let me discuss about the pituitary gland. So what hormones are produced by the anterior pituitary and also the posterior pituitary? You all know that the pituitary gland, it's a master gland because it controls all other endocrine glands like the thyroid, adrenal and gonads like ovaries or testes. So this pituitary gland, it has two parts, right? Anterior pituitary from front part and also the posterior pituitary, it is the back part. We have discussed about this pituitary gland anatomy and also the physiology in before session. So this anterior pituitary gland, it releases many hormones, whereas posterior pituitary gland, it stores and releases hormones made by the hypothalamus. So coming to the first, the anterior pituitary hormones. What are the hormones by anterior pituitary gland? Growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, and also the ACTH hormone. So growth hormone. What does growth hormone do? It promotes body growth, cell repair and metabolism. So this function of the growth hormone is it helps the body grow and to repair the tissues. It also helps the metabolism by increasing the protein production and also the fat breakdown. If too much growth hormone is produced, so gigantism in children or acromegaly in adults can be experienced. If too little growth hormone is produced, it results in dwarfism. So for example, growth hormone, the GH hormone, it helps the children grow taller and it helps adults to maintain their healthy muscles and bones. The next hormone, it's a thyroid stimulating hormone. This hormone, the function of this hormone is it tells the thyroid gland to release the thyroid hormones T3 and T4. These hormones, it control the body's metabolism, temperature and the energy level. For example, when TSH is high, the thyroid works harder to produce more hormones to keep the metabolism balanced. So the next one, adrenocorticotropic hormone, simply ACTH. So the function of ACTH hormone is it stimulates the adrenal cortex, the outer part of the adrenal gland. As I told you, adrenal cortex, it's the outer part of the adrenal gland. It produces the cortisol hormone. So this cortisol helps the body respond to the stress, maintain blood pressure and also the control blood sugar. For example, when you are stressed, ACTH, this hormone plays a role. This hormone, it increases to help to release the cortisol, giving your body extra energy to handle the situation. So when you feel stressed, when you feel low, ACTH hormone, it releases the cortisol so that your body gets the extra energy so that you can handle the situation very easily. You need not to be worried or you need not to be more hyper and anxiety. So this pituitary gland, it's like a manager sending signals to other workers. So coming to the next hormone, FSH, is also called as follicle stimulating hormone. So what does this hormone helps? What does this hormone function? It helps in the growth and development of the reproductive cells. In females, it helps eggs develop in the ovaries, whereas in males, it helps in the production of sperm. For example, without follicle stimulating hormone, a woman cannot release healthy eggs and a man cannot make a healthy sperm. And the next hormone is luteinizing hormone. This hormone, it works together with FSH. So LH and FSH hormones works together to control the reproductive cycle. So the entire reproductive cycle depends on these two hormones. In females, luteinizing hormone, it causes the ovulation. Ovulation is nothing but release of the egg from ovary. Whereas in males, it stimulates the testes to produce testosterone. Testosterone is also a male hormone. For example, if LHS levels rise sharply in women during mid-cycle, it triggers the ovulation process. The next hormone, it's a prolactin hormone. This prolactin hormone, it only activates during the pregnancy and post pregnancy, so that it helps in producing the milk for feeding the baby. This stimulates the mammary glands to produce milk after childbirth. Also, it also helps in maintaining the milk supply through the breastfeeding. For example, when a baby sucks prolactin, it increases to keep milk flowing. And these are all about the anterior pituitary hormones. Now, when coming to the posterior pituitary hormones, the first hormone is antidiuretic hormone, ADH hormone. So what does this hormone do? ADH is also called as vasopressin hormone. The function of ADH hormone is it helps the kidneys to conserve water, and also it maintains the fluid balance in the body. So it prevents excessive loss of water in urine. For example, when you are dehydrated, ADH levels increase, so your kidneys hold on to water instead of losing it as in urine. So when you get dehydrated, this ADH gets increased in the kidneys, so that instead of losing it as urine, it gives the hold on the water. And the next hormone, oxytocin. So what is the function of oxytocin hormone? It causes the uterine contractions during the childbirth. And in this hormone, it helps to push the baby out to the during the vaginal delivery. This hormone, it makes easy to push out the baby for a mother during the labor. So it also causes the milk ejection during the breastfeeding. So this oxytocin hormone, it is also known as love hormone. Why it is called as love hormone? Because it promotes the bonding between mother and baby. For example, when a baby suckles, the oxytocin causes the milk to flow from the breast. So these are all the hormones which are produced by the pituitary gland. Now next, let me discuss about the hormones which are produced by the thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland, we all know that the thyroid gland is located in the front of the neck, just below the larynx. It plays a key role in metabolism, growth, and also the energy regulation. So what are the hormones produced by the thyroid gland? Thyroxine, T4, and triiodothyronine, T3. So these hormones, these are the main thyroid hormones. These control the rate at which the body uses energy, also known as metabolism. So they help in growth, body temperature, regulation, and energy production. For example, if thyroid hormones are low, metabolism slows down, so that weight gain and tiredness takes place. If too high, if the thyroxine and thyroiodothyronine, it is high, its metabolism speeds up, so thus weight loss and fast heartbeat takes place. And calcitonin. Calcitonin is also the hormone released by the thyroid gland. This hormone, it reduces the blood calcium levels. It helps to store the calcium in the bones by decreasing the calcium in the blood. For example, when there is too much of calcium in your blood, calcitonin helps deposit it into bones to keep levels normal. So when calcium is too much in blood, so what happens? It doesn't function properly. It is the abnormal condition. So whenever, if you can see a calcium level more in the blood, this hormone, what does it do? It takes the calcium out from the blood, it deposits the calcium into the bones, so that it keeps the system working levels normally. And coming to the hormones released by the parathyroid glands, there are 4 small parathyroid glands. located behind the thyroid gland, as in the before session we discussed. So the main job is to maintain the balance of calcium in the blood. So parathyroid hormone, PTH. So this PTH hormone, it is released by the parathyroid gland. So it increases the blood calcium levels when they are too low. What does it do? It releases the calcium from the bones. It increases the calcium absorption from food in the intestines, and it reduces the calcium loss through the urine. First releasing calcium from the bones, and then absorption from the food, and then reducing the calcium loss through urine. For example, PTH and calcitonin work like a seesaw to keep the calcium levels, because calcitonin and PTH both functions with the calcium levels, right? So they work like a seesaw. They both help in keeping the calcium levels balanced. So if one raises, one lowers. So then coming to the hormones released by the adrenal glands, they are cortisol and aldosterone. So what does cortisol do? This cortisol, it is also known as stress hormone. It helps the body respond to stress. So it regulates the metabolism, blood sugar and inflammation. For example, when you are under the stress, cortisol rises. It gives extra energy and it helps the body deal with the emergencies. Coming to aldosterone, this aldosterone, it controls the sodium, salt and water balance in the blood. So it helps regulating the blood pressure. For example, when a blood pressure drops, aldosterone helps the kidneys retain the salt and water to increase it. So whenever BP lows, so what happens? You will feel the sensation of drowsy, or you can faint. So at the time when BP drops, this aldosterone hormone plays a role. So it helps the kidney. So you can also find, kidney are the filtering units, right? So water and salts, everything will be flowing towards the kidney. So what does this aldosterone do? It helps the kidneys to retain the salt and water, so that it increases the blood pressure and it makes the balance of the body. Now let's talk about the androgens. Androgens, these are the male sex hormones, but both males and females have them. They help in development of secondary sex characteristics such as increased muscle mass, body and facial hair growth, and also deepening of the voice in males. So for example, testosterone is the main androgen that helps boys develop masculine features during the puberty. And the other hormone next to the androgens, actually these all are the hormones produced by the adrenal cortex. And now coming to the adrenal medulla, it releases hormones called epinephrine and norepinephrine. So adrenal medulla, it's an inner part of the adrenal gland. It works during stressful situations, which is known as the fight or flight response. It releases two hormones, epinephrine. Epinephrine, it works with adrenaline to maintain the blood pressure. It keeps you alert and focused during the stress. For example, it helps you to stay sharp and awake in the stressful or dangerous situations. Coming to norepinephrine, it increases the heart rate. Epinephrine, it increases the heart rate, whereas norepinephrine, it maintains the blood pressure. And this epinephrine, it provides the instant energy during emergencies or stress. Norepinephrine, it keeps you alert and focused during stress. So epinephrine, for example, when you are scared or feeling excited, your heart races, right? So that's adrenaline in action. When coming to norepinephrine, it helps you stay sharp and awake in stressful or dangerous situations. This is the hormones released by the adrenal medulla. Now coming to the hormones released by the pancreas. Pancreas, also called islets of Langerhans. So this pancreas, it's both an endocrine and exocrine gland. So the islet of Langerhans are a special cell clusters in the pancreas that secrete hormones to control the blood sugar levels. So what are the hormones? It produces insulin, glucagon and somatostatin. So insulin, what does insulin functions? It lowers the blood glucose levels. It helps the body cells to absorb the glucose from the blood to use for the energy. For example, after eating, insulin helps move sugar from your food into your cells, like a key opening a door for glucose. And glucagon. Glucagon, it raises the blood glucose by stimulating the liver. This by when it stimulates the liver, this liver it releases a stored sugar called as glycogen into the bloodstream. For example, when you skip a meal, glucagon makes sure your body still has enough energy or enough sugar for energy. And stomatostatin. So what does it do? It balances and regulates both insulin and glucagon. Right. So both insulin and glucagon is controlled and balanced by the stomatostatin hormone. It prevents extreme highs and lows in blood sugar. So it always prevents, it always balances that whether the insulin or glucagon are in right amount or in equal percentage, so that it can prevent extreme highs and lows in blood sugar. For example, think of a stomatostatin is a traffic controller. So it keeps insulin and glucagon working in the balance. And next, okay. Now coming to the hormones released by the ovaries, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen, it controls and regulates the menstrual cycle. It also helps in development of the female reproductive organs, and it is responsible for the secondary sex characteristics such as breast development, wider hips, and also the higher voice tone. Whereas progesterone, it prepares the uterus for pregnancy after ovulation. It helps the embryo to attach to the uterine wall. It supports the early pregnancy by maintaining the uterine lining. For example, if fertilization occurs, progesterone keeps the uterus ready to support the baby. And coming to the testes. So testes, you all know that testes produces testosterone hormone. So this hormone, it develops the male reproductive organs. I mean, they promote the secondary sex characteristics such as deep voice, facial and body hair growth, increased muscle mass, and also helps in sperm production. So for example, testosterone is what causes boys' voices to deepen and muscles to grow during the puberty. And now coming to the pineal gland. So pineal gland secretes only one hormone, that is a melatonin. So you all know that melatonin, it controls the sleep wake cycle, and it is also called as a body's biological clock. The production of melatonin increases at night and decreases in light. For example, when it's dark, melatonin makes you sleepy. In daylight, its levels drop to help you to stay awake. So this helps you to make sleepy during the daylight, right? So when coming to the thymus gland is located behind the breastbone. The thymus is most important for the immune system, especially in children. So what hormones are produced by the thymus gland? It's a thymosin. This thymosin, it helps to produce and mature T cells, which are a type of WBCs. So what does this T cells do? This T cells, it defends the body from infections and diseases. So it helps to produce and mature T cells, which are a type of WBCs. This T cells, it defends the body from infection and also the diseases. So this is all about the thymosin hormone. And now you all know that we do have a medical terms of each and every specific part of the endocrine system. This endocrine system uses a many medical terms that are built from prefixes, roots and suffixes. So most of them come from Greek and Latin. So why? What's the need of medical terms actually? Why do we need medical terms in the scientific background? So what does they do? It helps for us to break down and understand the terms easily, to identify the meaning of hormone names, gland names, and diseases related to the endocrine system. So prefixes, coming to prefixes. So medical terms, we do have prefixes, suffixes, and root word. So what are prefixes? These are the word parts that come at the beginning of a term. Like they help to describe the location, amount, or condition of something. So let's go through the prefixes shown in the below. So hyper, coming to the first prefix, hyper. Hyper means over or above or excessive. So what's the example of this prefix? Hyperthyroidism. So what does hyperthyroidism means? Overactive thyroid gland or excessive thyroid activity. So next coming to hypo. Hypo means below. So for example, hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is nothing but low blood sugar, right? In the same way, endo means within, exo means outside. And next coming to the roots. Roots are combining forms. So what are root actually? Root is the main part of the medical word. It gives a basic meaning, often referring to a body part or organ. A combining vowel is added to make pronunciation easier. So here there are some root or combining forms in the endocrine system. So what are they? Adeno, for example, adeno. Adeno means gland. So for example adenoma. So oma means tumor. So tumor of a gland. And next hormono. Hormono means hormone. For example, hormonal. What is a meaning of the example? Pertaining to hormones. In the same way, thyroido means thyroid. Parathyroido means parathyroid. Adreno means adrenal. And pancreas. Pancreas means pancreas. For example, pancreatitis. So what do you mean by pancreatitis? Inflammation of the pancreas, because pancreas means pancreas, itis means inflammation. And when coming to the gonado, gonado means gonad. So for example, gonadotrophin. So what do you mean by gonadotrophin? It is a hormone that stimulates the gonads to produce the sex hormones. In the same way, testo means testis, ovary means ovary, or uforo. For ovary, you have two medical terms, ovary or uforo. So pinealo means pineal gland, thymo means thymus, and gluco or glyco means sugar or glucose. So next to the root words, what are suffixes? So what are suffixes? A suffix is a word ending that changes the meaning of the medical term. It usually describes what is happening to the body part or condition like inflammation, disease, study of, or etc. So when you add a suffix to a root word, you form a complete medical term. So let's look into some of the suffixes. Emia. So what do you mean by emia? Emia means blood condition. For example, hyperglycemia. So what do you mean by hyperglycemia? High glucose in blood means high blood sugar. So itis means inflammation. For example, thyroiditis. Thyro means thyroid. Itis means inflammation. So inflammation of the thyroid. And oma means tumor. So adenoma. So benign gland tumor. Ism means condition. Pathy means disease. Tropin means stimulating effect of a hormone. So gonadotrophin. Gonado means gland, right? So what is the meaning of gonadotrophin? It's a hormone stimulating gonads. So ectomy means surgical removal. Adrenalectomy. So adrena means adrenal gland. Ectomy means removal. So it's a removal of adrenal gland. So logi means study of. So endocrinology. What do you mean by endocrinology? Study of endocrine glands. So these are all the suffixes of the endocrine system, and this is all about today's session, guys. In the next session, we will be learning about the ICD-10-CM code classification of diseases of endocrine system. Thank you.